Welcome to the Politicrat. I'm Omar Moore. It is Friday, August the 14th, 2020.
Today, a hope of many years standing is in large part fulfilled. The civilization of the past 100 years, with its startling industrial changes, has tended more and more to make life insecure. Young people have come to wonder what would be their lot when they came to old age. The man with a job has wondered how long the job would last. This Social Security measure gives at least some protection to 50 million of our citizens who will reap direct benefits through unemployment compensation, through old age pensions, and through increased services for the protection of children and the prevention of ill health. We can never insure 100% of the population against 100% of the hazards and vicissitudes of life, but we have tried to frame a law which will give some measure of protection to the average citizen and to his family against the loss of a job and against poverty-stricken old age. It seems to me that if the Senate and the House of Representatives in this long and arduous session had done nothing more than pass this security bill, Social Security Act, the session would be regarded as historic for all time.
That was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, exactly 85 years ago today, August the 14th, 1935, making remarks after he signed the Social Security Act. The Social Security Act turns 85 years old today. And Social Security has been a vital part of American life, known as a crucial part of the sustenance of people who have retired from the workforce here in the United States. Social Security is known as the social safety net, and for 85 years it has prevailed and survived amidst a lot of Republican presidents trying to chip away at it and get rid of it completely. Donald Trump wants to completely do away with Social Security. And part of this episode of the Politicrat will be talking about the cuts to Social Security that Donald Trump's 2021 budget proposes and calls for, as well as what Social Security is and how it works, for those of you who may not know. Also in this episode, a word or two about voting, and of course, two more states, Rhode Island and South Carolina. All of that next. Welcome back. So I think it's a good idea to define what Social Security is, because there are people who don't know what Social Security is. Well, Social Security is a safety net that the United States government has provided for 85 years now. You heard the audio there from FDR in 1935 on August the 14th. He signed the Social Security Act into law. And for 85 years now, exactly 85 years, we've had Social Security in the United States. It is a safety net for those of us who, when we retire, and when anybody retires, has a small amount of money that they get paid on a, I don't know, is it weekly basis or monthly basis or whatever it is, that helps them in their life. Now, of course, Social Security now is not as much as it used to be in the past, certainly back in 1935. There have been Republican presidents who have been trying to take a hammer, and who have taken a hammer or cudgels or knives or scissors or nail clippers or whatever you want to say, and have over time cut Social Security and contoured it to the point where the average senior now cannot live off of Social Security alone. It's simply not enough. However, it is there, and there is supplemental income that goes with it that you can apply for. Social Security is a safety net. It is that thing that we, all of us who work in the United States and who have a secure Social Security number, pay into. We pay into Social Security from the time we start working until the time we stop working. On your pay stub, you will see something that says SSI or SSDI. And that is a tax that shows up on your paycheck, on your pay stub. That tax, that SSI tax or that SSDI tax, Social Security Disability Insurance, that is what you are paying into. You are paying into Social Security. Everybody who works pays into Social Security. It's taken out of your paycheck as a tax every single paycheck that you get. So that when you retire, be that at age 62 or really 66 or 70 or even later than that, that money that you have been paying into with your taxes from your hard-earned work will be there for you. Whether that sum is modest or not so modest. And Social Security now is something that is very modest for the average person, for almost everybody. We need to strengthen Social Security, not weaken it. If you get to the age of 62 or even 66 preferably, that is where most people in the United States begin to retire, at age 66. And the longer you wait to retire, the more and the higher amount your Social Security benefits will be. There are a lot of people today who are retiring at age 70. There are a lot of people today who are retiring even later than that. And at age 70, you get what's called deferred retirement benefits. So if you decide to retire at age 70, you will get more money in Social Security than you would have got if you had chosen to retire at age 66. So it's pretty simple. The longer you delay your retirement, the more money you get from Social Security. You have to apply for Social Security. It doesn't just get automatically given to you. You have to apply for it. Social Security can come in the form of retirement benefits. Social Security can come in the form of disability benefits. So if you're someone who becomes disabled, or if you have a child who has become disabled or who is disabled, then you can apply for what's called Social Security disability income, or Social Security disability insurance and supplemental security income. That's what you can apply for. You can apply for Medicare enrollment. I believe it kicks in at the age of 65. Once you turn 65 in this country, or is it 60? Once you turn either 60 or 65, I believe it's 65, you are eligible for Medicare benefits. So you can enroll in Medicare. Your prescriptions get paid for. All of that stuff gets paid for. However, there is a 20% gap called the Medicare gap. The Medicare gap was something that came about in the 1960s when LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, another Democratic president like FDR, had signed this Medicare action into law. And that was part of the Great Society programs, signing in this iteration of Medicare into law. Republicans in the Senate were saying to LBJ and to other Democrats, look, we will go along with this Medicare if we will cover it 80%. We won't do 100%, but if you agree to 80%, we will allow for that. We'll agree and it'll get passed. And so there's a 20% gap called the Medicare gap, which is a gap that I believe it's either the states pick up or the person picks up. And I think it is the person. Medicare, I guess it's Part B. I think that's what it's known as. I need to educate myself on that, to be honest. And shame on me not to have come up with that information before talking about this. But the point is that Medicare is not covered 100%. Medicare is covered 80%. And Republicans would not allow it to be covered 100%. So Medicare is not entirely free of charge. Not entirely. But it is something that is for the, your prescription drugs and all that is free. That's all covered for you. Unless there's some kind of exception. And Republicans for years have been trying to gut Medicare, and they've been trying to gut Social Security. They've been trying to take hammers to this, as I've said. And George W. Bush certainly tried. Ronald Reagan certainly tried. And now you've got Donald Trump, who has openly said it. He signed this pathetic executive order last weekend at his golf course. That was an illegal executive order. It's unconstitutional, I should say, as well. Quite frankly, it's unconstitutional. That provided for the cutting of the payroll tax. Now, he is a member of the executive branch. He has no authority at all under the Constitution to do this. And even this citing of this ridiculous unitary executive power, the theory of the unitary executive, none of that gives Donald Trump or anybody else who may become an occupant of the White House, Joe Biden or anyone else, Kamala Harris or anyone else, Barack Obama or anyone else, to sign an executive order circumventing Congress. That is a violation of the separation of powers under the Constitution. Article 1 is the mandate of Congress. Congress are the only body in the 3 levels of government: legislative, executive, judicial. Congress, the legislative branch, is the only branch of government that has the power of the purse. They can determine whether there's a payroll tax cut, not the guy in the White House. He can't do that. No one but Congress can. But he signed this ridiculously unconstitutional executive order. Payroll taxes will be cut, and $300 of this extension money will go to the feds, and the feds will pay for that, and the $100 will go, the states will have to chip in. It's a con game, as I said in an episode earlier this week. States don't have the money to chip in because of what's happened with coronavirus. And this order that he signed has no force or effect. What it is a genuflection to his base that doesn't care to realize that Social Security affects them. Those older white men and women who are part of his base, and those few stragglers, those few black and brown folk who support Donald Trump, who are in their 50s or 60s or 70s, or who are Herman Cain, who is no longer with us, who passed away at 74 and refused to wear a mask and now is no longer here. Those are the individuals who don't care to realize that Social Security is something that they need and will need when they get to age 65 and above, 66 and above. And Donald Trump, with this payroll tax executive order, was putting a hammer and a sledgehammer to Social Security. Like I said, the payroll tax is Social Security. That's the tax that you see on your paycheck. SSI, SSDI, that's Social Security. The Medicare tax that you see on your pay stub, that pay stub, you will see Medicare on it. That is a tax that you're paying into. That's a tax that pays into Medicare. So that when you become 60 or 65 in this country, in the US, that money that you're paying in is part of the safety net that protects you for your health. And Donald Trump and the Republicans have been wanting to get rid of this completely for years. Donald Trump, with the payroll tax that he wants in this executive order to cut, means that he is cutting the very things that you and your mother, father, grandfather, grandmother need and will need when they turn 65, 66, 70 years old. Hopefully, God willing, they all make it to those ages and beyond. Or have done and are continuing to thrive. So if you believe in not having any Social Security for yourself when you get to 65 or 70, if you believe in your parents not having Social Security when they get to 65 or 70, if you believe in your spouse not getting Medicare, not getting Social Security when they turn 65 or 70, then you vote for Donald Trump. Because that's the guy that wants to get rid of Social Security. He said so publicly. With this payroll tax, that's what he's getting rid of. When he says he wants to cut the payroll tax, he's cutting what you are paying into. So you're not going to be taxed on that. And this whole thing is about a short-term gain for his base for a few months for an election. And then what happens if you vote him back in and he gets in? He's going to take an axe and he's going to get rid of anything that you have regarding Social Security and Medicare. That ridiculous and unconstitutional executive order was a sneak preview. And what's more, his budget for the fiscal year of 2021, which was released in February of this year, 2020, calls for $45 billion of cuts to Social Security. I can hear some people now, oh, well, it's for Social Security for disabled people, for people with disabilities. Yeah, but so what? It's a cut in Social Security. Stop being so selfish and sectarian. Oh, well, it affects those people. It doesn't affect me. Bye. I don't have to care about it. That's a very juvenile, selfish, and narrow-minded, not in my backyard attitude that is prevalent in a swath of the American public. Oh, it doesn't affect me. Bye. I can turn my back on it. You're living in the same country as someone who has a disability. And someone who has a disability is a human being just like you, first and foremost. The problem we have here in America, among many others, is that we do not recognize all of humanity. We only recognize parts of humanity. We don't recognize everybody's humanity. We don't recognize the people who may look a little bit different from you and I. The people who may be able-bodied but not fully. The people who may not be able-bodied at all, may have disabilities. And some of us look down on those individuals who are human beings, just like you. And that kind of crap has got to stop. We are a weak society as long as we continue to perpetuate that kind of garbage and ignorance. Oh, it's not happening to me. Bye. Oh, I can vote for Donald Trump now because he's taking care of me. So if you look at the United States of America as just you and how you're doing and how your family's doing, and you don't look at the United States of America as a country of 332 million people, then yeah, you're going to vote for Donald Trump. But if you look at the United States of America as a country of not you, a country of not one, but of a country of 332 million people, then you are forced to ask yourself, well, how is the country doing at large? And when you vote this November, that is the question you have to ask yourself. When you decide to early vote, whether that's next month or that's in October, and hopefully it's next month for most people, or early October for most people, because I urge people to vote early, as early as you can. The very first opportunity that there is to do so. If you look at the whole country as a whole, and how the entire country in which you live is doing, you know that the entire country is doing shambolically. You've got food lines up the wazoo. You've got people in their 60s and 70s standing on food lines. You've got people in their 40s and 50s standing on food lines. You got people in their 30s standing on food lines all over this country. So if you can sit there and insulate yourself still and say, well, it's not happening to me, then you are already living in a country in your own mind. And you also are imprisoned as well. You're trapped. You're imprisoned. You've actually enslaved yourself mentally into believing that somehow the country's doing great because you and you alone are doing well. And what does doing well mean? If you're living in a country where over 50 million people are unemployed, what does doing well mean if you're living in a country where black and brown people and native people are constantly being murdered by the police? What does doing well for you mean if you are living in a country where you have someone in the White House who is not doing his job, who is allowing 170,000, 200,000, 250,000, because that's probably where the real number is, of people, 250,000 people, to die from coronavirus? How well are you doing? Better yet, how well is your psyche doing? Because if your psyche is telling you that you have made it in this country, while the vast majority of this country is living below the poverty line, the vast majority of this country has to work at least two jobs just to break even? And you have a system of voting that is being attacked every day by Republicans and by Donald Trump? Then how well are you really doing? What kind of psyche do you have? If you want to continue to live in a country where Social Security is not going to be there for you and may be even more drastically cut by the time you reach 66, 68, 70 years old and beyond, if you want to vote for destruction and chaos and your own demise, then it's an easy choice. Donald Trump is smiling at you. He himself is 74 years old. He's not going to be here when all of this really kicks in down the road. He's not going to be here. He's not going to live to see what the next generation is really going to be going through. He's lived most of his life. He's got money that he has stolen from these last 3.5 years. It's being funneled into his businesses, his golf course that he signed this pathetic and unconstitutional executive order on last weekend. $45 billion cut to Social Security. You no longer have the luxury to sit there and say, well, it's not happening to me. It is happening to you. You're living in the country, aren't you? It is happening to you. And nobody in the country is free until every single one of us is free. And as I like to say, and as I said last week during my Zoom conversation about the documentary that you must see called I Am Not Your Negro. It's available on Netflix. At least it is right now. All lives do not matter until black lives also matter. You have deluded yourself into believing that these Social Security cuts, oh well, I don't have to worry about that. I'm 50. I don't have to worry. I'm 40. I don't have to worry. I'm 25 or 30. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You have to worry about it. And you have to get active. Don't wait until you're 70 years old. If you get there, God willing, I hope you do. But don't wait till you're 65 or 70 to start asking questions and learn about Social Security. Because FDR signed this act into law 85 years ago today. That doesn't mean that we just sit down and kind of rest on our laurels. We have to keep fighting to ensure that Social Security is preserved and protected and endures for generations to come. What I would say to anybody who is listening to this is to make sure that you go to ssa.gov and learn more about Social Security. You can apply for benefits. The longer you defer your retirement, the better. So if you retire at age 70, you get more benefits than if you, say, retire at 66. If you retire later, as I mentioned, you get more benefits beyond that. Medicare enrollment kicks in at 65, I believe. 60 or 65. This is a very important program. And as I've said before, Denmark pays all of this. Denmark, in the country of Denmark, during a pandemic, every worker in a deal that's been done between the government and the employer pays. The employer pays or rather the government pays every worker their full 100% wage until the crisis is over, whatever that is, in this case, the coronavirus pandemic, until that's over. And not only do they pay 100% of their wage, they also pay for their groceries. They give them extra money for that. Hey, do you want money for groceries? Here's an extra bit of money. Hey, do you want money for medical stuff? Although they have Medicare for all, if you will, in Denmark, so that gets paid for by the government anyway. Hey, do you want money for laundry? Here's an extra bit of money. Hey, do you want money for some more childcare services? Here's some more money. They actually care about you. You judge a nation, you judge a society, you judge a government by how it treats the least among us, by how it treats the most vulnerable among us, the most vulnerable of us. And I dare say that you become extremely vulnerable when you suddenly lost your job, when you've suddenly been laid off, when you suddenly now have a pandemic. You become extremely vulnerable. And then it is how that government, how that society treats you, how that government reacts to that is a reflection of how the society and how the government views you, how it values or devalues you. And so when you've got Republicans like Mitch McConnell, who were never at the table to talk with Speaker Pelosi or Democratic Minority Senate Leader Chuck Schumer about maintaining this $600 benefit, to think that Trump wasn't even in on those negotiations, not once. These guys don't care. They've all hightailed it out of D.C. They're on their August recess now. They're on their summer recess. They're not coming back for another month. Just almost another month, which is Labor Day. After Labor Day, they'll be back. And in the interim, your ass doesn't have the $600 that you need to get by. Your ass doesn't have that stimulus check that you need. Your ass doesn't have job security. You are left here in the United States in the lurch. The Denmark citizen, she lives with comfort. Of course she'd rather work, Lindsey Graham. Of course they would. But what she has going for her in Denmark is that there is a safety net for her. There is a government that cares. There isn't this horse trading that we have here in the United States, where we are horse trading. Your Social Security is literally up for debate. I mean, that's how evil that is. What does that tell you about a society where your Social Security is up for debate and that it's been chiseled away at? That's the system that we have here, that does not recognize or respect your humanity. And we need to start respecting each other's humanity. And the government does. We need to get a system that recognizes the humanity of everybody, black and brown and Native people, Native Americans. I tell you what, the citizens of Denmark and a lot of other countries, their humanity is recognized because it's what the government does. Pays their wage until they can get back on their feet. And you've got people like Lindsey Graham, who I want you in South Carolina there to vote out. I'll be talking about South Carolina in a little bit. But you need to vote for Jamie Harrison down there for Senate in South Carolina. You need to vote for him. Lindsey Graham famously or infamously, earlier this year, complaining about people wanting $600. Oh, they're not going to work. They're not going to work. Give me a friggin' break. The solution is if the damn employer was paying people higher wages in the first place, people wouldn't be looking to beg for $600 freaking dollars. I mean, that's really the telling reveal out of all of that. If the darn employer was paying that worker a livable wage beyond to begin with, then that worker wouldn't have to be begging and praying and holding her existence on $600 extra dollars. Are you kidding me? That's how this country looks at you and does not respect or recognize your humanity. Because if it did, and if this government did, then you would have employers all over the country paying wages that are comfortable for their wage earners. You would have people not having to work 2, 3, even 4 jobs. Remember when George W. Bush said a few years ago, "Oh, that's uniquely American," when a woman in the audience said, "Well, I work 3 jobs." You shouldn't be working 3 jobs. Any person working 3 jobs in a society, by definition, is working in a society, working in a government that doesn't give a rat's ass about them, and working in a country where there is certainly not a level playing field, and definitely not one economically. I mean, Lindsey Graham has some freaking nerve. And he is for tax cuts. And so is Mitch McConnell. All these Republicans are. And Donald Trump too. For the rich. What do? They don't go out and work. Their money makes money. You know, these people who are investors on Wall Street. I used to work on Wall Street. I know. I used to be one of these people. I'd work with these people. I'd be one of investors. These guys, their money makes money. For God's sakes. Their money makes money. They don't lift a finger to do a goddamn thing. Now, I did. I mean, I worked in an area of that where I had to actively work. So, and it wasn't, I wasn't sitting there just making phone calls and doing nothing. But that's who Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham and all these other Republicans are giving tax cuts to. People who sit around on their asses, who make all this money, and their money makes money. While the average person is begging for $600, and Speaker Pelosi is saying, yeah, I'm not budging from here. And $600 ain't even a big deal, let's be honest. When in Denmark or other countries, your whole 100% salary is being paid. This is why Social Security is so important, even as it's being dwindled away at. It's something that's there. It gives the average person peace of mind. Even though it is not a lot, it is better than nothing. And you got Republicans, oh, well, $200 for you. And they can't even agree on that. And then they hightail it out of town in an election year. You can't be voting these people back in Kentucky, in South Carolina, in North Carolina, or any of these other places. You got to vote these people out of office. Isn't it obvious? Kentucky's in the bottom 4 in everything. Economy, healthcare, education, environment. They're in the bottom 4 states in every blasted thing. And why do you keep voting him in, Kentucky? Why do you keep voting in Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell? Why? Say why. Why would you do that? They don't care about you. They've done nothing to enrich your state. Makes no sense. Social Security is a safety net. Social Security is a safety net. That's what it is. And I think that people really should educate themselves about Social Security on this 85th anniversary of it becoming law. FDR signed it, Democratic president. And you can go to ssa.gov. Start to familiarize yourself with Social Security. It's very important. Very important. We need to preserve this. You judge a society on how it treats its most vulnerable. And we've got to start looking at each other as human beings, recognizing the humanity of all. I'm not saying that you have to sit here and kiss someone's feet or shine their shoes or propose to them on bended knee or anything. I'm saying have some empathy, have some compassion, listen to people, gain some understanding, and stop living off of fear and deep insecurity. It's eating you alive. Stop inventing this boogeyman, this brown person, ooh, this black person. Oh my God, I'm telling you, white Americans have to stop doing that. White Americans have imprisoned themselves with this racist notion that some black person out there is out to get them. And the reason why Donald Trump continues to push this racism is not only because he's a racist, it is also because he knows, as you know and I know, that there are still a great many white people on this planet, on this continent, in this country, who are racist. A vast, vast majority, in varying degrees, but they are racist. And he knows that that is going to resonate with at least what? 25, 35%, maybe more of white Americans in this country, even with the support that a lot of white people have put in with marching and demonstrating and advocating for black lives and dying in the case of Summer Taylor for black lives. Heather Heyer, we just had that commemoration a couple of days ago in Charlottesville from 3 years ago, a 3-year commemoration of her being killed, Heather Heyer. But the reason why Donald Trump does this with these tweets and, oh, the suburban housewife, he's trying to see how many white people he can get to stick with him. Because there are going to be white people who are young and old, who don't care that their Social Security is going to be cut by him, who is still going to vote for him. Because, oh yeah, you know, that black guy. Oh my God. He wants to take my daughter. He wants to take my wife. And you're there beating your wife. Shut up. I mean, you want to see the amount of domestic violence, and domestic violence is in every community, including the black community. And black women, by the way, can I just mention this, are 3 times more likely to be victimized in domestic violence situations. So I say this with no trivialization. The incidence of domestic violence in white communities in this country, through the roof. Through the roof. And now with a pandemic, give me a break. And you're afraid of this black boogeyman. Ooh, he's going to do that. You know, this is something, again, that white Americans, white people anywhere, but particularly here, are going to have to purge from their hearts and souls and minds. Because unless they do that, this country is going to continue to fall. And white people will not be free. Black people will not be free either. Nor will anybody. People find that hard to believe, but it's very true. And I'm not the first person to have said it. And one more thing. People in the UK, my native country, in England specifically, who go, oh, the nanny state, the nanny state. Ooh, we don't want the nanny. They take care. How juvenile are you? How illogical are you? You frown and you scorn and you mock the notion that a society, that a government can actually care about people who are in need? You're that contemptuous of human beings being able to get some assistance until they get on their feet? You have that much contempt? You mock government? You mock a country that you live in that actually wants to help people if it's in the Labour government versus the government you've got there now under Boris Johnson? Oh, the nanny state. And you actually mock that? You actually call it the nanny state? That shows you how warped and how isolated and how pathetic your thinking is. If you in England and the rest of the UK are spouting that garbage, mocking those who need help, that means your empathy has gone out of the window a long time ago. Welcome back. Now on to the 2 states. We're now up to Rhode Island. We're getting toward the end here of the 50 states. I have been over the last, 2 weeks plus now or so, talking about voter education and really giving you the basics on what you need to know in every single state around voting and how to check for your voter registration to see if it's still intact, and also how to register to vote. And then the website you want to go to for Rhode Island, if you are there and you're voting in Rhode Island, is vote.sos.ri.gov. vote.sos.ri.gov. That brings you to Nellie Gorbea. She's the Secretary of State. She's got a smile on her face. She has been smiling at you as soon as you get to that page. Welcome to your voter information center, it will say. And then underneath, there are some boxes: view or update my voter record, register to vote. This is a very straightforward website. Also provides you with the deadlines. This is really good. It really is. The deadline in Rhode Island to register to vote is October the 4th for November 3rd's general election. So that is a month before, 30 days before. The mailing ballot. So if you want to mail in your vote, if you're doing a vote by mail, the application deadline, the deadline to apply for a ballot is October the 13th. And there is a place where you can print up a ballot application. I would not be waiting until October 13th. I would be actually contacting Rhode Island right now here in August. If you are a Rhode Island voter or know someone in Rhode Island, please tell them, please ask them, please tell them to call their Board of Elections or their Secretary of State, Nellie Gorbea, and tell them to do that today, right now. Do not wait. As everything you know about what's going on with Louis DeJoy in the post office, do not wait. There's at least a 3-week delay in many states because of the kinds of illegality, the criminality that's going on in the post office because of Louis DeJoy, the Postmaster General. So please, do not wait. You need to be proactive. I did some videos on YouTube and on Facebook and on Instagram all yesterday evening. And I'm going to post those in the liner notes. I'm going to post links to those so you can access them. A couple of them are 20 minutes to half an hour. One of them is 10 minutes long. But it's really similar to what I've been saying here. And I'm going to be doing more of these videos as well. And I'll try to make them a bit shorter than half an hour. But this is very important now, because people get overwhelmed with all this information about all the nasty, illegal, criminal things that Donald Trump and his cronies are doing. What we have to do now is, yes, we feel the fear, we're afraid, we're nervous, we're anxious, we've got all this stuff going on with coronavirus. We now have to act and try to cut down some of that fear that we have. And one way to do it is with information, with facts, and with activation, and with being proactive. And so if you go to vote.sos.ri.gov, that's the Rhode Island Department of State, the Secretary of State, Nellie Gorbea, you will see Welcome to your Voter Information Center. If you want to view and update your record, that means that's best another way of saying check your voter registration. You click on that. That box will bring you to an area where you scroll down. You just put in your information and follow the prompts to find out if you are still registered to vote. If you've never registered to vote before and you are a Rhode Island resident, then make sure you click on the box next to view and update my voter record. And that box would be registered to vote. You click on that and you just follow the prompts from there. It's a straightforward website. It's one of the better ones. You can find your polling place. You can view a sample ballot. You can track the status of your mail ballot. By the way, you can early vote in person in Rhode Island. See, this is why you don't want to go to places like vote.org. I mean, it's an important website, but even vote.org tells you, as do all these other sites, that you want to go for more information. You want to go to either your local county board of elections or to the Secretary of State's website in your state. Why do I say that? Why do I illustrate Rhode Island as a point for this? Because if you go to vote.org, it says that there is no early voting in Rhode Island. It says Rhode Island does not offer in-person voting. Rhode Island does not offer in-person early voting, I should say, or absentee voting. Not true. Not freaking true. Which is why you have to go to vote.sos.ri.gov. And on that page, you scroll down underneath where it says Welcome to your Voter Information Center, and underneath where it says 2020 election dates and deadlines. On the right-hand side of that, directly underneath, it says New Early In-Person Voting. This is a new option for Rhode Island voters who would like to cast a ballot in person, but are unable to vote on Election Day. Learn more. You click on where it says Learn More, and voila. How to vote in person before Election Day. Now, there is a primary in September in Rhode Island, and the early voting for that begins very soon in Rhode Island. So if you're voting in the primary for September in Rhode Island, you can vote starting August the 19th through September the 8th. And if you are voting in the November 3rd general election in Rhode Island, you can early vote in person at a polling place from October the 14th through November the 2nd. There is early voting in person in Rhode Island. Please check your local Board of Elections website or the Secretary of State's website for your state. Do not rely on vote.org. Do not rely on all of these other organizations. Because like I said, the only official places, and I said this in these videos last night, the only official places to get the accurate official information is from the Secretary of State's website in your state or from your local county Board of Elections website. You can find out what that page is, and they call it different things. The local county Board of Elections could be, in some states, your local Board of Canvassers. It could be all kind. but it means the same thing. But they are the official word. Your Secretary of State in your state is the official word, and your local board of elections or board of canvassers or county board of elections, they are also the official word. They take their lead from the Secretary of State. Now, they may have different things. Different counties have different kinds of rules, but they all take their cue. They are aligned officially with the Secretary of State. Do not depend on vote.org. I'm telling you, the problem that people are going to have is not so much voting, in my view, especially if you vote early and demand your ballot early. Call the Secretary of State or the local board of elections and ask them, say to them that you want your ballot. Drive there if you can in person and ask for your ballot for November. And mail it in early. And go around this post office slowdown by either mailing it in early immediately as soon as you get it in the next few days or weeks, or by going to a drop box. I know they're trying to get rid of that. Trump's trying to get rid of everything. He knows he's going to lose. He knows he's going to lose. But you cannot rely on polls that say that Joe Biden's up by 10 and 5 and 3. You have to get your butts out there and be proactive. And that will help you feel better. Trust me, it will. It will make you feel a little better. You work around this post office slowdown by going to a drop box, by getting this in early as soon as possible, by hand delivering it yourself to the local board of elections office. And you can find out where that is. You can easily search that online. By delivering your ballot filled in to the Secretary of State's office yourself. Go there in person. Hand it to him. What better way of ensuring that your vote is going to count and be counted by you actually going there in September or in August or in October, early October, and actually handing it to the person. Nothing beats that. If you don't want to do that and you're going to do it by mail, well, darn it, make sure you vote by mail the first opportunity you get, immediately. The big thing here is going to be about two things: time and confusion. And the confusion has already been sown by Donald Trump and by others. At this point, you do not want to pay attention to organizations other than the Secretary of State in your state and the county board of elections that's local to you. Those are the only two places you really want to pay attention to. Anything else is just something that I would ignore. I'd make note of it and I would contact 866-OUR-VOTE, but I would not be acting upon that information. I would want to bring that information. If I get some mysterious postcard that is confusing, I would turn that into the Secretary of State's office. I would make copies of it. I put it on social media. I would call up election protection at 866-OUR-VOTE. I would send that, or I would hand that information in to the local board of elections office. I'd hand it to them in person before doing anything with that information, because there's going to be a lot of things designed to confuse. We need education for voters. That's going to be the real thing here. And we need proactivity. We need voter education and voter proactivity. Those are the two things that are going to allow us to prevail and knock this illegal, criminal entity out of the White House. That is ultimately what it's going to be. And I know there's lots of information flying around and you're watching TV. That can be overwhelming because it's all bang, 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 and it traumatizes you. Turn it off. Turn it off. Heck, maybe you listen to this feeling traumatized by this. But what you will find here is actual information and facts. that are verified, that I provide links to. You won't find that in the corporate news media. They're not telling you to go to this site and that site. There's one exception to that, and that's Joy Reid on MSNBC, and she's talking vote.org, which, like I say, is a nice site, but it is not the final word. And I really caution you, if you're going to go to vote.org or any of these other important and ancillary organizations, I would advise you to make sure that the priority and the only voice that you really want to be listening to is your Secretary of State in your state. That's the official word. She's the official word in Rhode Island, or your county board of elections in Rhode Island, or wherever you are, whichever state you're living in. They are the official word. And that example of vote.org not including very important information about Rhode Island being able to vote early proves my point. Please, everybody, you've got to go to your local website, your Board of Elections website, or the state's Secretary of State, whether that's in Florida, Tennessee, Ohio, California. Please, those are the two official places. The information is updated, it's accurate, it's direct. There's phone numbers to call. So anyway, that is very important. That's Rhode Island. Early voting begins in Rhode Island for November's election on October the 14th. Voter registration starts on October the 4th, I guess it was, I said, October 4th. Please do that now. The voter registration deadline, is October 4th. Pardon me. Do not wait. It's August, middle of August. This election, we've got 81 days left to this election. This election is going to be here like that. It's going to be here. So I really do urge you to get on your bike right now. And also, if you want to watch the videos that I've done the last 24 hours or so, make sure that you click on the links in the Apple liner notes or any of the other, wherever you get the podcast, you'll see the links. You either click on them or copy and paste them and watch these videos. You can watch either one of the 3 videos. One of them is only 10 minutes long. The other 2 are more comprehensive and provide more information. South Carolina, the Palmetto State. For those of you in South Carolina, it's S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, votes. That's with an S on the end of it, scvotes.gov. That brings you to the South Carolina Election Commission page. And wow, everything is right there. You will see something that says My SC Votes. You scroll down to it, and on your left in a kind of, I guess that's what, powder blue, sky blue box on the left side, online voter registration, check my voter registration, and a number of other categories after that. Update my voter registration, online voter registration, boom, you just click on it, boom. And you just follow the prompts. It says how to register, and then you say register online, click here for online voter registration. You click on that, and you just go from there. It's a quick, easy process. If you want to check your voter registration, and you should check that every single week through the end of October, you click on check my voter registration. And you just enter the information, follow the prompts, boom. It's just so easy. It's just really easy. Then you can scroll down some more on the scvotes.gov page, and you'll see on the right side as you scroll down in a red box, elections, election calendar, upcoming elections. I mean, this is just great. South Carolina, and we know the South Carolina history, but my goodness, they have a great website here. This is this great website. I mean, I'm telling you. I'm impressed with South Carolina's website. By the way, vote Jamie Harrison. Did I, if I didn't mention that 3 other times already in this episode, vote Jamie Harrison for the U.S. Senate, please. Please. I'm going to start talking about these candidates as well in the Senate. That's another thing that I will start to do here in the next few days after I've gone through all of the 50 states. What I want to do is start to center on these candidates that you need to, in the relevant states, need to be aware of and you need to vote for. And I'm going to also start to talk about some of their records as well. And those records of those particularly who you don't want to vote for, who you want to vote out. So stay tuned for that in the next couple of weeks. And I am going to provide a full list of all of these states that I've gone through, all 50 of them, with the relevant boilerplate information. And I will make that an online presentation so that you can see. And you can, by the time we get to before the end of August, you're going to have all this information in one place from me, yours truly, so that you can refer to it. I want everybody to vote. I'm not like Donald Trump, who wants nobody to vote, or who wants only his base to turn out. That is not any kind of democracy. That is dictatorship. And that's what we're in, by the way. Fascism and tyranny. This South Carolina website is very good. Schedule of elections. It has stuff on electoral college. It has an election calendar. I mean, it's really good. Electoral college information. Of course, we should get rid of the electoral college. There's just some really good stuff here. Voters, information for voters, how to vote, absentee voting. There's stuff on provisionals. There's all kinds of stuff here. Absentee voting, how to vote. I mean, South Carolina is taking the steps to educate people. Remember to apply for your ballot early. Please, please, please do that. Please, please do that. Don't wait. Don't wait for the state to vote to mail it to you. Be proactive. It's your vote. It's your vote we're talking about. The deadline to register to vote in South Carolina is 30 days before Election Day. So that's October the 4th. That's the deadline to register to vote for November's election. And then also for South Carolina, the deadline to, the early voting situation in South Carolina is that there is not in-person early voting. You can vote absentee, and that mail has to be returned to your county voter registration office, which is the same thing as the Board of Elections, by 7 p.m. on the day of the election. Either personally, you can go and deliver it yourself, or by mail. I would deliver it myself, and I would do that way before 7 p.m. on November 3rd. So there you have it. That is South Carolina in a nutshell. Wow, 2 good websites today. And thank you very much for your indulgence, and may Social Security live on forevermore in this country, and may we strengthen and expand it. We really must. And one way we can do that is by voting in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris this September, October, or November. Hopefully, most of you will be voting earlier than November 3rd, either by mail or in person. And I urge you, mail your ballot in immediately. Be proactive. Right now, contact your Secretary of State in your state or your Board of Elections and ask them for a ballot now, or visit them and ask them for a ballot for November now. Find out when they will be having those ballots ready. Be proactive. It's your vote and it's your life. Thank you very much for listening to this edition of The Politicrat. I'm Omar Moore.